All right, here we go. Another post-training wrap slash leading into whatever podcast this might end up being. So today was an illustration of why it's always best to attend every class you can. I had, when we first started in the mornings, there were the Tuesday, Thursday class, 6:30 a.m. at that time, run by Val Worthington. Great classes, but it was the only thing there was in the morning, and for some people that was all that they were able to get into for their schedule. Just you could only get to the morning. That was it. Had 2 days. So eventually, there was enough desire that we got permission, and I started hosting an open mat on Wednesdays. Very cool, very fun, really well attended. That spread out to Monday and Friday eventually. But once it got spread out so much, Monday, Friday, in addition to the Tuesday, Thursday classes, people didn't attend everything. And some of them were very sparsely attended. Eventually, Monday came off the schedule for quite some time because there was nobody there. I spent over a month with just nobody showing up on Mondays. It was like 6 weeks to 2 months, somewhere in there. I was like, you know what? This is not a valuable use of my time. But there were a lot of times on the Wednesday, Friday ones, more the Wednesdays. Fridays tend to be relatively well attended. But sometimes those Monday, Wednesdays, it would be me and one other person. And that could be super useful. And when I got lucky, it was me and one higher level person, and they would either use me as a training dummy, just beat me up in roles trying to work on whatever they were working on, or they'd be like, hey, do you want to learn something? All of those are valuable. And just getting the one-on-one time with somebody and having the chance to ask questions, even if it's just rolling, like, hey, how'd you do that? Or if they saw something repeatedly that I was screwing up, they'd be like, hey, you're doing this. Do you know you're doing that? Here's what you should do instead. Those are really valuable. And that was just a sheer matter of me being on the mat 5 days a week, no matter what. I don't have that ability in my life right now. Family schedule's a little bit busier. Got a teenager in high school. I have other things I want to do. I'm getting pretty broken at this point. I'm 43 going on 44. I've accumulated a lot of mileage between the military, really poor motorcycle riding when I was younger, and jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of wear and tear and some actual injuries that were never properly addressed that I've just been dealing with for the last 20 or so years. And it's starting to show. And so in the last few years, I've started to work out. And that's one of the things that takes up my time is I need some recovery, I need some more sleep, I need to get these workouts in as well, in addition to jiu-jitsu, so I can stay on the fence. So I still get in as often as I can. It's about 3 days a week right now. 2 of them I'm teaching. I don't necessarily get to roll that often on those days. Looking to make adjustments to that at some point. Maybe even if I could just convince Bo to start trading on Wednesdays and start teaching on Wednesdays sometimes. I'll be his student, and that'll be a lot of fun. He's made some indication about wanting to get into the instructing side of things at some point. I think that'd be a great spot for him. But back to the point of come as often as you can. Today, Bo came in because fishing season is over, and he's starting to up his morning training again a little bit. And he wants to do the fundamentals and wants to be more in the guidance role, being the purple belt among the white belts to help them learn. And like I said, I'd like to get him at the front of the class, maybe on the regular, at least a few times, as much as he's willing to do. And he showed up today, and Kanan, our newest white belt, showed up today. That was it. And that happens sometimes. And the advantage is for people like Kanan, he just got a private for 2 purple belts. Got spent basically an hour getting very detailed on spider guard sweeps, and combining it with the lasso. And we've been doing lasso the last several weeks. He's seen lasso a couple times now, so he has an idea of how to do that. So we threw in the spider guard, got him used to that, and then just showed him the sweeps. And basically, the sweeps are all very similar to each other in that you need to get the person's weight up and over you, and then use either with the spider guard sweep. It's a very similar motion to the scissor sweep. You're extending them, getting them over you, and then rolling to the side. With with the lasso spider stuff we were doing, the lasso sweep, we worked on one extremely similar to what we've been doing in lasso, where we're crossing the foot across the chest to the armpit. This time we did it from them standing up from closed guard, like they're reacting to the spider guard you put in, and trying to stand so they can back and escape the spider guard. As they start to do that, throw the lasso in. It's going to slow them down. And once you've got that lasso in and you've kept them down, if they've still got that leg up, move the foot over to that leg rather than the other armpit, and it's the same sweep that we did. So it was an easy progression for them. And finally, we looked at if they get all the way up to standing. It's very easy to pass spider standing. If you're a very new white belt and you haven't seen that, hit me up, and we will do that sometimes. It's so stupid simple. If you've been stuck in spider guard for months, like I was when I started, and then somebody shows you that, you're probably going to be pissed. Like, I could have been doing this the whole time. So you have to do something else to keep people from passing in the spider guard. And we were using the lasso to keep people from passing, but once they get wise to that, they're going to be standing and trying to maneuver. And you can go to one more sweep from there that had them getting the weight up and over you and off balancing in a very similar manner. We were moving the foot to the hip to help a little bit with that oomph. But once we got to the live rolling portion, and it was great because Bo is a perfect size to be a partner for Kane. He's got enough experience to be a perfect partner. He can feed him just enough, and he can pull back and give him just enough pressure. And even without getting that foot to the hip, as we're working through it for him with resisted training, he was able to work to get the person up and over him and then dump. So a lot of cool stuff, and he got a lot of detail today because he just showed up. And hopefully he picked up on the lesson that no matter which one of these we do, we're trying to slow the person down, we're trying to tangle up their arms, and we're using that to get their weight up and over, get them very extended, and then go past their tipping point and drop them. Didn't matter which sweep we were doing, they all had that in common. So I think you got it, hope you got it. But if nothing else, he got a lot of valuable mat time. He had a partner who was his size, which is happenstance, but it's nice. And he got a lot of information from two people who were, not inexperienced. I wouldn't say Bo or I is like, the best purple belt at the gym even. But we're not bad, and we are purple belts, and we've both been doing this for a while. So we've got experience, and we can pass it on, and you can get the benefit of that if you just show up. So, not to guilt anybody who wasn't there today. Life happens. I'm not there Tuesdays and Thursdays right now, so you can say the same to me. But this is the benefit of if you are able to make it in. If you were wondering about coming in that morning, the alarm went off, you didn't feel like it. That's what you missed out on. You just never know what you might get. So the more you can, the better, but only as much as you can. Yeah, that's about it for the training wrap. The guilt trip. As far as broader reaching stuff, what this might turn into, there's I think I might have mentioned, there's a YouTube that I like, a YouTube channel I follow, and the guy's an electrician, but he likes men's fashion, which is odd. Seems like a juxtaposition. I'm not a fashionista or anything like that, but I do like to know about why we regard people differently depending on how they're dressed, because you do. If you see somebody in a three-piece suit or somebody with saggy pants and an oversized hoodie, you're going to treat them differently, even if it's the same person. You're going to treat them differently, and depending on scenario, either one of those pieces of dress may be appropriate or not. But it's interesting to see why, and it's interesting to see why people might spend more money on clothing, and why higher quality clothing could be worth it. The guy's name is Carl. He's showed transition from like When he started out, he was doing like getting into the suits and dandy type stuff, and then he went to more like workwear stuff, more related to what he wears on the job, but also how you can class things up and how you can have like what are some nice boots, some nice pieces. His current thing is like helping you buy less, buy better, buy for life type stuff, which is in my life where I'm at right now. I would rather not buy the $10 Amazon jacket. I'd rather save up and buy the 150, couple $100 jacket and have that thing last me 10 years, 15 years. Depending on the material and how nice of and how much money you're spending, you could have something for life. You could have, especially if it's clothing like a jacket, that if you get something leather or wax canvas or something that is really heavy duty, you could have it for a very long time. Pass it down to your kids even. So that kind of quality over quantity is something I can't say I've always been that way, but it's something I prefer. I'd rather have something nice and have less than to have a whole bunch of tchotchkes and crap lying around the house that you buy, you look at, and then you throw it, don't think about it again. It just lays there. I can't stand that. So I'd rather have few things that are nice things. But anyways, all that to say that I like his format. It's very informative for his main channel, but he has a second channel where he calls it Coffee with Carl, and it's just him sitting back and kind of talking and addressing some things. You get to know him as a person, just his views on things. That I think is what this will end up being. He'll probably have some themes. I know when I did this for myself before and I haven't posted those videos, and I might throw them out there. I know Jeff offered the other day to like, hey, if you ever want to have an audience just for sound quality or content or whatever. So I might throw those out there and put them on a private channel, give it to the link to people who might be interested. But they are crap. The sound quality is not great, and they're not as well thought through. But I think having certain multi-week themes is something I'm interested in too. And of course, there'll be like one-offs and stuff, but whatever I'm interested, whatever's coming up in my life or my thought process that week. But yeah, I think a lot of this is going to be learning how to think better. I really like Jordan Peterson. I know he's very divisive for a lot of people. I think he gets outside of his lane a lot, and he's a very intelligent person, and he can talk. He can talk well. And I think people sometimes get themselves beyond where they should when they're able to do that, because you can theorize and conjecture, and then a lot of people say, well, look at this guy, he's completely talking out of his ass. Yeah, he might be, and a lot of times he'll say he thinks this is such and such. You can't take it as gospel. But the areas where he actually is accredited and has his doctorates and stuff like that, he's pretty damn spot on. I haven't found anybody who seems to make more sense to me. And one of the things he's done is he'll go on tour and he'll have these talks, and he did some on the book of Genesis in the Bible. And I was raised in a Christian household, extremely Christian household, to the point of almost zealotry. And my parents would like drift around from denomination to denomination trying to find the thing they liked, and they seemed to get a little bit further out there every time. To the point that I think the last church they were at when I was living at home was a Pentecostal church, and we're talking like talking in tongues, dancing in the aisles. There weren't snake handlers. My mom's definitely afraid of snakes, but I think otherwise they might have eventually gone down that road. But I just never liked the whole experience. I didn't care for organized religion. I find our culture as a whole seems to be getting away from organized religion, and I guess there's positives and negatives to that, but I feel like there's a big gap there that it used to fill for us. And so Jordan Peterson would do these talks, and he says like a lot of it is him developing his thought process and doing it live and talking out loud as part of that. And writing can also be part of that. You learn how to think by learning how to write, by learning how to talk through things. And I really like that, and I learned so much from his Genesis one, just going back and seeing like all of the lessons you can pull out of it, like all of the deeper meanings in it, that even divorced from the religious aspects of it are just really impressive. And a lot of the stuff I was exposed to as a child, and a lot of the military lessons and stuff like that that I didn't learn when I was in the military, kind of like got dredged up, and really I was able to integrate that stuff into my life. So it's very interesting things, and that kind of him working through those thought processes, that's kind of what I'd like this to be, is having issues and thinking deeply on them and then talking it through, because I've definitely done some of these just for myself, even just in the jiu-jitsu wraps, and thought I was going to go one way with the wrap, and it went a different way, and I ended up learning something that I didn't intend to, or revealing something about my thought process or why I do something, or you're thinking through the technique or the overarching concept, and getting something completely different out of it. And I feel like Joe does that really well in BJJ Meditations. I've always really admired Joe from the first time I met him, and he does it well. And these things come across sometimes as like talking to you, being preachy or something like that. But he said these are for him. He's doing it to talk to himself and teach himself lessons and elucidate lessons he's learning and trying to learn. And that's what I'd like this to be for me. And doing it in a format where other people can see it is a bit of pressure. Um, it does make you choose your words, like slow down, choose your words. But it also makes you want to have things a little bit more polished. And it's nice to be able to get the feedback. Somebody says, hey, I heard you talking about this, that was interesting, or yeah, man, you're way off on that, or here's something else, some other input. That could be really good. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. Um, that's about it for today. Other than it's getting cold now, and I had been working out at lunchtime, doing kettlebell exercises, just super convenient, portable. You can get decent exercise in. You can make gains with it. I've really enjoyed that. But I want to transition to a more bodybuilding style of training, since I'm going to have to be indoors in the winter. It gets cold. Like those kettlebells are just heat sinks. And if they've been sitting in 30-degree weather overnight, even at lunchtime, they just feel like a block of ice, and it's very not fun to work with them. So going to be going back to working in the basement at home. I was just thinking this morning how first world problem spoiled and privileged I am, because I've got a nice basement at home that I've been able to, it's not finished, but it's a basement. But I've got padding down, I've got a half rack, I've got a bench, and I've got some weights. So it's not a bad setup. It's everything you need. It's got all the basics. You have to get inventive sometimes to get the things done that you want to get done, but nothing bad. And it's not raining. It's sort of temperature controlled. It gets still pretty chilly there in the winter, but it's better than being outside. And it's really not bad, but I'm not looking forward to it. I hate going down in the dungeon, but I'm so privileged to have that, to be able to have the space, to be able to have the equipment, to be at the point in my life where I've been able to afford to get those things. And yeah, I don't want to get up at 4 a.m. to do that, but that's probably about the time I have to get up, because I'm old and creaky and slow, and it takes me a while to get going, and then I have to get the work in, and then I have to get done, dressed, and get to work. But man, I'm such a bitch. I'm so spoiled, because I'm just looking at this ability to do these things, just being like, ugh, this sucks. I don't want to be down here. I don't want to go back into that dingy basement. So sometimes it's good to just step back and say, check yourself, man. Be grateful for what you got, and be grateful that you've got a house instead of an apartment. You've got the space. You've got somewhere to live. You got somewhere that's, again, it's relatively temperature controlled, and it's dry, and you can get the stuff done. You've got the ability to set your schedule enough that you can get up early and do that, rather than working doubles somewhere. So, yeah, all that to say, I'm very grateful, and I'm still a spoiled, whiny brat, and I'm working on that. I think part of this stuff as well, these talks, is going to be me reflecting on who I used to be, where I am, and where I want to go. And it's definitely a process of improvement. I don't think it ever ends. I don't think you ever get where you want to be, but it's good to check in from time to time. Okay, wow, that's 20 minutes. That's a long damn time. Sorry if you were listening to these. Sorry if you spent the whole time watching this. I'll try to make these more concise for the wraps, and I will break these apart. All right. Thank you all very much. Hope you have a great day. Take care.